gotta zoom in thing.
Ooh. Alright. I'm not vibing with this music, to be honest. I feel like it's kind of like weird.
Did I just start? Yeah, I just started. Yep. So that's good. Keep on cruising here. We have 11 more to go. We're gonna do this one next. This one's gonna suck to trim because see how the whole entire top of it's uneven? So these are a little bit annoying to trim. That'll be okay. Alrighty. 11 vessels to go. No, I won't be staying that long today. Yeah, no worries. I'm just excited to have this stuff done. This has been the most annoying week. I probably streamed. How many hours do you think I streamed? Like 15? It's not that many. I don't remember. Did I stream a lot last week? I feel like last week I didn't stream as much as I did this week. week was a pain. No, it's all good. I'm almost done. After I finish this, I'm about to be freaking like on cloud 9. Yo, I'm gonna be so happy. And then tomorrow, that means I'm gonna make all of my handles, and then I'll probably attach all of them as well tomorrow. And then I'll make an edit. Can't go any lower than that. Take some more off the side. This one actually turned out okay. Sweet. It was nice to trim this one because I didn't think I was going to because of how uneven the top is, but it was just flattened up. They could squeak out a bottom there, you know? Camera A. Zoom. Actually, I'm kind of close. Also, I finished all my pieces for my chess set, yo. Oh. Finally. That's all I gotta say. It's finally, dude. Took way too long. One of my students today was making fun of me because I wasn't finished yet. It made me laugh. My favorite clay? I always like stoneware. Any type of stoneware that has a little bit of grog in it and is a little bit stiff, right? So like I'll usually wait until my clay gets a little bit harder before I start throwing, because I use a lot of water when I throw. So if I start with really soft clay, my pots just kind of fall apart. Alright, nice. Nine more left, dude. 9 more left. And then we're free. Free. I'm so excited. If we don't fail, then if we don't fail on any today, then we've had 3 mess ups during the whole batch number 3, which that's not too bad. Ideally we have 0. I think the first time I had 0, the second time I had 2, this time I had 3, so I'm getting worse as I go. That's always good. First batch, I don't know, there's probably like 30 in the first batch, maybe like 40 in the second batch, and this is like 60 in this batch, I think. Well, they haven't been fired. They haven't made it through the whole process yet, so it's going to be more than 5% by the time they're all done. Picked up my broken one out of habit. I just reached for that green handle. And then after I get done with today, I gotta fix my phone. I haven't had my phone for almost 2 weeks now. What? I can remove a little bit more off the bottom here. I guess I can remove a little bit more of just the body weight of this. it, but who cares? That's so annoying. I hate when the clay is too soft. It's so hard to get center, and then once you get center, especially with this new wheel head, it doesn't want to stick. It just wants to slide all over the place. Love the pattern on this one. Yeah, I feel like out of all the ones that have this sort of pattern, I think I don't like this one. This is my least favorite of the breaks. I just think that I got a little bit lazy about when I was making the little screw texture. I do like the texture style in general, is what I meant. I feel like you would like to watch like a Japanese potter then, because I feel like they always do stuff like that. Like a traditional Japanese potter, I should say, not just Japanese. I would never go to Japan to learn from them. I think I'd get really mean. Like, I think if you go there, right, you like submit yourself to being this, like, as almost as if you don't know anything, right? And you have to learn, and so you'll be doing like all sorts of random things, and you wouldn't really be making the work that you want to make, because like your part when you're trying to learn the like Japanese throwing stuff, right? Like you're engaging with their like hundreds of years of like throwing being passed down, right? You're like a cog in their machine, where I think I'd get really pissed off. I think just not my thing, and I think I wouldn't want to be like, if somebody said you can't throw, you have to go like mop the floors or something, I think I'd like get angry, you know? Or if somebody said just make cylinders all day, I would also just be like, alright bro, I'm out of here. Go any lower than that. Is that not anywhere with the culture you don't know? Pottery being thousands of years old, probably very traditional everywhere in the world. Yeah, I think Eastern and Western ideology is pretty different in regards to the pottery field, though, you know? So, I think there's some big differences between those two. And I feel like I don't even fit in either. And so I wouldn't want to go anywhere to learn from anybody. This one's like perfect. I feel like the only reason I'd go somewhere to learn is to actually to show them up, right? Like I would love to get so good that if I was to travel somewhere and like one of these like pottery masters, quote unquote, they're like, oh, the silly American, like, you know, let's teach them something, you know, like, and they sit there and they like looking down on me a little bit, and then I sit down and I freaking cook them. That would be like what I would like, you know? Like I would like to have like some like 80-year-old person just like sitting there and then they like questioning their whole life. Very arrogant, your imagination, I know. I love it. Like I can imagine there's this guy. Maybe he's like, I don't know. Maybe it's like some, the Netherlands is, I think is pretty popular for pottery. I go to the Netherlands and there's like some dude, he's like 70, you know, and he just got finished like making his best work and he's freaking riding the high of being like goated, you know, and then all these galleries are freaking just like hyping him up, and then I just come in and I just like make the work one shot and I just leave. Never to be seen again, like a storm. And then he's just stuck there like questioning his whole body of work. Of course you want to impress, but you shouldn't be ignorant and deny learning. Especially about something you love. Well, I don't love pottery, you know what I mean? Again, this is just like the thing that I chose to do, right? And so I like the idea of like, just like devouring people, you know? Hourly, so if the knowledge is literally thousands of years old. Yeah, I don't want to spend my whole life trying to like relearn what humans have discovered in the past. I'd rather discover new things that nobody really is researching by myself, you know? There's some of that's unavoidable, right? Like firing stuff, like you kind of have to, or when you mix glazes, like you're literally using that lineage, right? But I try not to like draw from it too much, to be honest. I could probably do a better job of being more nonconformist, to be honest. How can you know if you discovered something new if you don't learn the history? I don't think you can discover much in pottery the way you do it with the wheel. It's literally the same as most people. Yeah, that's fine. I feel like I'm not gonna open up a book about it, to be honest. I'm not gonna the only time I'll ever learn or look at something historic is if I think it's interesting. If I don't think it's interesting, I'm not gonna even pay attention to it. Plus, I think about it this way, the digital world is so fresh and new, somehow or some way it's got to be influencing the forms and the content that I'm making, right? And so I already think that if I just keep producing and not pay attention to anything else except just what I'm doing, I'm gonna stumble upon things that are new, you know? That's okay if it's off-putting. That's the thing that I think is the coolest thing about humans, is we're all different, right? I think today there's too much people trying to make others think what they think, you know? You were talking about variety yesterday. The variety that I like is that people don't like what I do or people disagree with me. I always like those people. Still hating the trimming? Yes. So funny. Always hating on trimming. When I was in school, I think my favorite people were the ones who literally just hated on me nonstop, right? They were my favorite people to be around. I love that too. People disagreeing is how we evolve. Evolve in two ways, right? You can evolve by you talking to someone and then they tell you something and then you're like, oh, you're right? Or you can evolve by doubling down, right? Somebody's talking to you and you really don't like what they're saying, and what they're saying is it makes some sense, but you think that your idea is just better, right? I also think that's valid. I think thinking that your ideas are important is a good thing, you know? I think a lot of times people are so quick to fold with their ideas. That's why I really love ego. I think I always say that ego gets a bad rap, I feel like you gotta have a well-developed ego. I gotta bring this in just a little bit more. Today I have like an old Game Boy, right? And one of my students, you know, like these young kids, like they got a little bit smaller of an attention span than I think I had growing up, right? And like also like the phones in class thing is like totally crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like if I pulled out my phone like during class, I feel like my teachers would have like I mean, I was a little bit after the hitting generation, so they wouldn't have hit me, but they definitely would not have been a fan, right? But you know, I noticed that like this kid, he likes Pokemon quite a bit, so I brought him my Game Boy with like a little Pokemon game on it. I let him play on an old Game Boy. I let him play Pokemon, and I was like, well, you know, like you sit, glaze some things, and then you can play some of this Pokemon game that I brought in rather than on your phone, you know. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It seems like he has a specific type of idea of what he wants to play with, like Pokemon, you know. Like I could tell, like some of the little like ROM hack modded ones, he might have not liked as much as just maybe a base game with a randomizer. If you guys know anything about that, forget what it's called, but what you said about either integrating another perspective or doubling down, it has a name, something like the arena of ideas. That sounds cool. I like that. Arena of ideas. Love it. I totally think when you're making, you're battling. So. Wait on this thing. Nice. Lateral Thinking by Edward DeBobo. Notice that you have demon in your name, but you won't say what? I don't even know what that word is. Yes, I gotta be. This is YouTube. The last thing I want is to be freaking shadow banned on YouTube. I think the demon thing is already pushing it. I don't know. somebody gifted me a book one time. Like you said, lent out. It made me think of, there was this one time where I had a substitute teacher, right? And he knew that I liked making things, and I was talking to him, and he asked me if I could make him a shelf, right? So I made him this wooden shelf, and I brought it to his apartment, and instead of paying me money, he freaking gave me a book. It was so annoying, but I was too meek to dispute it, right? But he gave me an Edward D. Bono, no, not that, but it kind of reminded me of the Edward Nietzsche or whatever his name is. Frederick. He gave me one of those books. And I read it for just a little bit, and it seemed a little bit too edgy, and then I was just like, alright, I'm good. He seemed like it was like his favorite, like, right on earth, but I was writing it, I don't know. I feel like that's definitely someone who definitely has a big ego, I feel like, the Nietzsche guy. So, I feel like I wouldn't want to read somebody else's ego. I'd rather make my own book. Jalen Snyder says, "What are you making?" Right now, I'm just trimming a cup. Paid you in books? What is this, 1800s? I know, right? I think that's also why I didn't want to read the book, too. Like, it was about philosophy, too, and I was in high school. There ain't no way I'm going to read any philosophy in high school, you know? And then, I think the fact that I spent a long time on that little shelf, and then he just gave me a book, I was a little salty. Alright. Nietzsche definitely had a big ego. Yeah, you think so? I feel like I don't really know too many of his ideas, but that's the vibe I got. And I know that a lot of, like, I feel like all of my art friends, they love Nietzsche. They're always like, Nietzsche. Oh. Or the Jung guy, Carl Jung. They love Jung. They're always, Jung is basically the better, who's the one guy? Who everybody hates on nowadays is the, Freud guy. Nietzsche believed that a fundamental driving force in humans is the will to power, striving for achievement and self-overcoming. Oh, that actually sounds interesting. Nietzsche was a tool. Whoa. You guys know so much about this stuff. I don't know any. I really don't know too much. I had to read some stuff, but I didn't really read it. I feel like whenever I had to do any sort of psychology or philosophy thing in school, I literally just try to get done with the assignment as fast as possible. Kellogg's invented cornflakes to get people to stop. I'm not gonna finish that. Crazy. Casey Jones. Come on, yo. You gotta get on the philosopher talk. Jung is actually pretty good. Freud. What's Jung believe in? I don't really know. Okay, Casey Jones. I'm just gonna be more suspicious before I see. I just read out what you're saying. I know you're young, expecting something else as compensation, but your substitute teacher probably saw something in you, and they wanted to support their view of your best future. Yeah, so that's the thing that I think made me angry though. Is like, who's this guy to tell me what's the right way to think? You know, like I feel like that has, it's like such a, I personally think that his act of like giving me a book is such a selfish thing to do personally. Does that make sense? Like he's thinking that I need something from this, right? Like he doesn't even know me. He was a substitute teacher like 2 times in my class, and then he thinks that he's gonna like bless me with his knowledge that's gonna like fix my life. Like I was a little salty. I get what you mean, but I just feel like I did not take it that way at all. Your thoughts about not wanting to learn from others is in line with Nietzsche. He didn't like reading other philosophers' work. That's so funny. Here I am roasting the guy, and maybe I think just like him. That's so funny. Maybe the teacher was trying to teach you to agree on payment before taking on the work. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like back then I was just like I was really shy, and I didn't really, I hate talking about that stuff. I always rather just do the work. Even now I feel like I'd rather just work than discuss payment on something. I think that's like my biggest problem. Like when I put down my hours for work right now, I always like reduce the amount of money that I probably should be getting, right? Because I got these people who come and will talk to me for like 45 minutes. What am I gonna do? Put down that time that somebody talked to me at work for 45 minutes? No. So I always kind of reduce my hours. So I feel like if I just had a salary job, yeah, I'd actually probably start making a good amount of money. Hi, Demon and everyone. Hello. I feel like the further in life I go, the more I want to hear the ways others think, because different paths lead to different ways of thinking, which could lead to different things. I think it's neat. Yeah, that's all good. If you feel like you want to learn from people, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go learn from people. I'm just saying I think sometimes people like they devalue themselves, thinking that they are not as smart as some of these philosopher people. But I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like you are. Why not you, right? Why aren't you just as important, as just as smart as this person? Like, how come you can't do that, right? And so I think people like discredit themselves way too quickly. So that's kind of all I'm saying. Also, you saying that you read a bit and it's too high ego. Academics back then were writing really hard text. Even books from the 1960s are hard to read nowadays. It's not their ego per se. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like sometimes when I read those books, though, like if I ever like even look at even the way they structure a sentence, it makes me want to barf. Again, we're gonna try and test out the bottom thickness here. I think we're close. Oh, this is perfect. Maybe we can take a little bit more off right there, but for the most part, this is pretty much done. The weight of this thing is so nice. This is a little bit even. We kind of want it more top heavy than equal. There 100%. We wouldn't be philosophers if it was not for us. The people. Whoa. I didn't even think about that. They're forgotten if we don't talk about it. Favorite live I've come across? Thank you, FBI. I'm so glad the FBI is here to make sure everything's in check. You're listening to Terrence McKenna. I don't know who that is. Is that a singer? Yeah, honestly, it's often to a point where I'd like to read a new version with modern language structure. You seem pretty well read. Maybe you like read, decipher what they're trying to say, but in like a modern context. Who knows? Maybe that could be a pretty cool thing. Do I have a favorite writer? Who's the guy who wrote, or who's a human who wrote The World of Wild Things Are? I feel like whoever wrote that, that's my favorite writer. Alright, hold on one sec. I gotta turn the music. Close in. The smartest people make up their own words like Snoop Dogg. Yeah. Alright. Casey Jones. I'm gonna quote you on that, yo. Snoop Dogg is the smartest person in the world. Quoted by Casey Jones. Who's your favorite modern philosopher? Snoop Dogg. It's totally like deciphering. I agree with you there, for sure. love feeling the weight difference after a good trim. Yeah, I feel like I don't like the feeling the weight difference until it's been bisqued. I feel like when I take this off the wheel right now, it's okay, right? The feeling of it's okay, but when I like pick it up after the object's been bisque, that's kind of like a nice feeling, right? Because there's still so much water in these dang objects, right? Octavia Butler is your favorite writer. Casey Jones made up a word and asked if I want to see it. No. Right now, I'm not going to say that, Casey Jones. You're not going to... I feel like you're still in timeout from me reading all of your things out loud from earlier. I bet you 100K there's people unironically saying my favorite philosopher is Snoop Dogg. Yeah, you're probably right. I feel like people really like Snoop Dogg. I feel like Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart could take over the world, yo. Camera A. Can't remember what they feel like before firing. And the memory of a goldfish. That's so funny. I feel like everything always feels so much heavier though. Like my feeling of an object, I remember them being so much heavier because I move everything while it's still wet, right? So the last time I hold the object is when it's soaking wet, you know? Are these cups for your students? No, these ones are for, it's that new series of me throwing off the hump, and so just coming on the wheel, and then just throwing a whole bunch of pots, and then all the, what is it called? Just like the poop of the clay, right? The defecate of the process of throwing are these cups, and then I'm gonna be making like little handles on them. And it's sort of talking about discard and using discard as a focal point and using these like smoother forms and trimmed forms as a way to show the difference between the really wacky, squiggly handles. But, yeah. It's a company I thought. This piece might be begging for some of my designs. Oh, you think it's too simple? Well, sometimes the simple stuff is needed for a really wacky handle, right? So like, although sometimes it's good to have little designs on there, like texture added while I'm throwing, right, or trimming. I also think sometimes it's good to just have it totally clean, because then you can really let the handle become the total focal point, right? I do gotta start making some stuff for my students though. I'll probably just give them a bunch of these small mini cups that I made. Makes perfect sense. Cool, I'm glad. I was inspired by, I think I told some of you guys before, I was inspired by nature for the first time about these cups I'm making, right? Or these mugs, I guess. It's because I was looking at jelly fungus in real life. I saw some jelly fungus, and I was like, dang, like here's this tree that just looks like a cylinder. It's so clean, and then here's this like really gelatinous looking like handle on the side of it that looks oddly similar to some of the handles that I make anyway, right? So I was like, dang, I gotta make like some work referencing it a little bit. It's like an ode to it. First time inspired by nature. Dun, 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 dun. He's done music, movies, streams, commercials, has a cookbook, and one of the most well-known, if not most well-known, Crip. You may pay him enough, he'll probably do just about anything. Yeah, I mean, I feel like people know him around the whole entire world, probably. I wouldn't say he's like a super nice guy, but I feel like you don't need to be nice nowadays. I love watching his like raging moments, like on his stream or whatever. I always think it's funny. I don't know if I'm making art. I feel like I'm just making. When you're spinning it and tapping the sides, what does that do? I'm hitting it so then eventually, think of it's almost like air hockey. You ever play air hockey? Right? And the little air hockey puck, air is coming from underneath, so it's hovering it just a little bit, and so it slides. And so as I'm hitting it, I'm actually like, it's lifting up off the wheel head, right? For a split second, and I'm hoping that it will land on the center point. And so I'm holding my finger down to sort of hit it up and pop it right down. And so hopefully it snags right on center, right? Utilizing a wet and dry box with plaster, what do you do to keep it the same amount of humidity? I actually just, you know, Gail, the best way that I think about it is I learn the boxes, right? Like my big box is actually getting really dry these days, right? And so like I'll make everything at the same time, right? I'll put them in, you know, maybe I make a batch and I have 2 different boxes. And so I actually learn that, oh, well, the stuff in here is a little bit drier, so it's less humid in this box than it is the other, right? So I kind of learn what the boxes, like what they're doing. Does that make sense? Like you really like you learn it by just using them, right? I think I use them often enough where I get a good feel for how long it takes for me to get there, you know? Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been okay. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5. 5 left, and then I'm done. Don't you re-wet the box at any time? I re-wet it. I've only re-wet 1 box in my whole time I've had these boxes. Usually the water that I use when I first mix a plaster is enough to keep it wet for like a really long time, you know? And I just don't even, but one day I left it out. This is when when was this? This is when I went on like a vacation thing, right? Sometime in December. And then I actually left one of my things open for a week, and so it totally dried out, so I just poured a bunch of water in it until I felt like it was enough. Okay, also, this one's not really being my friend. I just want to see, because sometimes when it's buckling like that, it might be it's too thin, but this is not too thin. You can actually be take a lot of more material down here. Alright. I feel like the next stream I do when I'm throwing, I'm gonna listen to a bunch of Gregorian chant music. Zoom. What happened to the water whistles in your car? Did they explode? No! They're totally okay. They're totally okay. They're getting ready to be glazed now. So now I have to glaze. I think I have 10 of them up at one of the places I work. I gotta finish glazing them. I don't know if I'm going to, what I'm gonna do with them right away. I feel like I got a couple of other firings I want to do before I glaze those, because I wasn't totally happy with how the first and second batch came out. So I think for the third batch of glazing and then this fourth batch, I want to really make sure I do a way better job. But yeah, it was all good. I was a little bit worried about it, but it seemed like the pieces were like they were freshly bisqued, you know what I mean? So they really absorbed all the water, I think, and displaced it enough where it didn't, like there was no water sitting in it. I must have goofed it up. It became filled with mold and stunk. Tried cleaning it with a tad of Clorox. It wasn't really dry at the time. It is big, and I cracked it somehow. That's why it dried out. Interesting. That's so. I don't know. I don't know why. Mine is never. I've never had any like mold grow in my reclaim, my personal reclaim. I've never had like a ton of mold grow in it. And my wet boxes, I've never had. They've never stunk. I've never had them grow like a ton of mold. So I don't know. Like, do you ever use newspaper? Newspaper can cause some of that. Like, I never used any newspaper. It's literally just clay. That's down here. You know, I've never have any cross contamination maybe. So I know some people use newspaper and set things on newspapers. So newspaper can rot, right? Sometimes if at the place I work, if there's a lot of like people use newspaper and there's paper in the reclaim bucket, it literally molds. Like it rots in the reclaim. It's like this giant black splotch. That smells terrible. Could it be a climate thing? Maybe, but the wet boxes, they kind of you're essentially just trapping them in there. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if it's really like a climate thing, because it's not like the climate is changing inside the box, right? And it's pretty cooking in this basement. I'm right next to the boiler for this whole apartment place, so like I would imagine like heat causes it to mold to grow even more, and I'm still not getting any. Could also be the plaster. Maybe there's some like antibacterial thing in the plaster. I use Pottery plaster #1, so not just normal like normal plaster that you get at any sort of, I guess any other plaster. I just use Pottery plaster, you know. So I wonder if they have something in that that's kind of like helps it with no mold growth. I know a lot of people actually like mold, so it could be okay. Hydrocal is what I use. I know some people use hydrocal. They use it for slump molds rather than casting molds. I think there's something to do with the density of hydrocal. It does feel way different. It's almost like buttery. Where my plaster is kind of like, almost feels powdery sometimes. But I always, like, whenever I try to get all that powder off, I just take a big chunk of clay, and I like a crayon, I smear it all over the base of it, so then it gets all that plaster in the clay, and there's just like a thin layer of slip all on the bottom, so then I don't have any plaster kind of sticking to the bottoms of my objects. Yeah, maybe if it was left for 2 months, you know, that could be a thing, you know. I don't leave my boxes. I mean, I'm constantly opening and closing the boxes, so maybe that could also be it too, you know. Maybe if, like, maybe once a week you open the box up for a little bit. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm nailing it today. Freaking nailing it. I feel like the weight of the past 3 have been like pristine. Like I don't think I could have trimmed them any better. Yesterday I feel like it was sort of a struggle bus, you know, where today I've been kind of like, I feel like I'm cruising in like what's a cool car that people own? Is the Bumblebee car still a cool car? I feel like I'm on the highway cruising in a Bumblebee car right now. You guys know Bumblebee, the Transformer? He drives a Ford. Is that a Ford? Is it a Charger? Ford Charger? What is the Bumblebee car? I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about? Anyway, I just feel like I'm good. No idea. No worries. I feel like Transformers is coming back though. They just had that new movie. I've seen clips from it. It looks pretty good. I feel like if I was a kid, yo, this is like the perfect time, like in media wise. You got access to all the old media, and you have all the new media, just like trying to simplify and make everything better. You know, Camaro. That's what it is. Yes, a Camaro. I feel like I'm cruising on the highway in a Camaro right now. I actually remember when I first saw the live action Transformer movies. I thought it was like literally the coolest thing ever. Like I think seeing those Transformer movies and then like the first Iron Man, you know, that was epic. I feel like I've always kind of liked those action things though. My dad really likes Mission Impossible movies, so I feel like I watch those, and like I like The Matrix. My dad let me watch The Matrix with him. I'm bitter that Avengers reboot took off and the X-Men didn't. The 90s X-Men cartoon was my jam. I never watched any of those the superhero cartoons from the 90s growing up. I watched like Power Rangers, Godzilla, Thundercats, He-Man. I watched I'm trying to think of any superhero. I mean, I watched Teen Titans, but that's more of a 2000s thing. I wasn't really around for all that superhero stuff. I wasn't really into superheroes. I was more of a dinosaur kid. You like The Matrix too? Yeah, dude, The Matrix was epic, yeah. Pirates of Dark Water. I love that one. I don't even know what that is. Is that a Pirates of the Caribbean thing or what? I love hearing about how you guys have all these like interesting shows that you watch that I probably haven't heard of. Oh my gosh, dude, I gotta just take a little bit more off and I'm good. But this is, the weight is already pretty even. Nah, Saturday morning 90s cartoon. What was the channel that you guys had to flop to watch cartoons as a kid? I always remember it was like 27 or 28. on TV. I feel like kids today, they won't even know that there's like, they probably never even, they don't even know what a TV channel is. You know what I mean? I think today it's like kids just have like YouTube or like Netflix or something, you know? You can just watch anything without it being like, as long as you have like Wi-Fi connection, you can just go to like a public library and get like Wi-Fi connection, you know what I mean? Oh no, dude. I totally pushed it off center. It's still too wet. That's kind of sad. Do you see how it's not perfectly round on the top anymore? The weight. Somebody asked, how do you make your handles? Do you pull them, roll them out? Are there more ways to make handles than that? You can throw them off the hump, or you can fold them off the bottom of the wheel, and I pull strap handles. Those are my 3 preferred ways to do handles. I think people like to see when I throw them off the hump because it looks like a gear, like a gear and a belt, right? I don't really use the gear and the belt ones, like personally though. I use those just more as a demo, just because I think they don't look as clean as like when I pull them. How do you throw them? I've tried pulling handles once and I couldn't stop laughing. You just, oh man, will you be adding handles on this live? No, tomorrow I gotta make all the handles and attach them. And I don't know if I'm gonna be doing that on stream. But throwing them is like, you know, you have a cone, right? And then you pull out the, like as if you're making a pot, and then you have the thickness, and then hold on. Camera A. So here's your cone, you pull it out, and then now you have some thickness, and then you have a wall. So it's like, right? And then you have the cone. So then you're right here, and you just squeeze until your fingers touch, and now you have a ring, like a torus ring. And now it falls over the cone, and you slowly pull outward, and it stretches out the handle. So then you have a big strap handle right off the wheel, right? Like a fan belt, totally. I think that's a good way to describe it. It literally looks like gears in a belt. Anything that uses a belt to like spin, it always has like a big circle and a little circle. It literally looks just like that. And then the belt is the clay essentially that you pull off to the side. And it's really quick. You do sacrifice, like when you pull handles, you can get them like, I like pulling handles and then making them look like they were extruded, right? Because I think so many people nowadays, they just have like a tool to make them look perfect, or they extrude them, right? I like the idea that I like pull them as good as an extrusion, you know? And then it's just like, I don't know, I just like that feeling. And then, but I don't really use those, like for all these, they'll all be kind of like the unusable wheel head folded handles, like ribbon candy handles. Or knobs, I might make a couple of knobs. Yeah, maybe I kind of just want to, you know, I haven't chilled out like at all. What time is it? Is it almost like 5? Let's see. No, okay. I gotta freaking. After I finish these, I'm not gonna. If one of these streams that I'm throwing, if you catch me, I'll show you. I'll demo it for you. I think like, if you don't like pulling handles, if it like makes you feel uncomfortable, or like you don't like doing like slab handles or like extruding handles, there's other ways to do handles that you might like, especially if you are more of like a wheel person. I love just like trying to find ways to do everything on the wheel. If I was smart, I would have had all my handles already made, but this time when I was throwing, I just threw the objects, but usually I throw the objects and then throw a couple handles with the leftover, but this time I used that leftover to just make more objects. Okay, let's see what the weight's like. Oh, this one's bad. We gotta trim all the way up. And our thickness bottom stops about there. So we can bring that in quite a bit. down in the middle here. Being some more that way down. Be awesome to see a demo of the thrown handle. That's more interesting to me than other techniques. Maybe I'd finally make a mug if I knew how to throw handle. For sure. I think I'm wheel bound, yo. Like I can't stop. I only use wheel. You know, I could have done a better job recentering this, because the top is a little bit off center. But I feel like once it's all said and done, you won't even notice. There we go, perfect. Okie dokie. Oh my gosh. 2 more to go. These both are a little bit too soft, I would say. Aren't you also making a sculpture right now? You've been doing like a 3-part series on sculpting something for your mom, I think. Maybe you don't throw handles, maybe you sculpt them. Why laugh out loud? Sculpture for your mom is good, yo. Why is that a bad thing? Going to be a sculpture, but I like the wheel, so I'm trying to throw it. Thrown sculpture. That's music to my ears, yo. M says, hi, with a wavy hand. Hello, M. Somehow it turned into a nested dolls, which is funny because I've never made a lidded form for sculpture. That sounds awesome. I always wanted to make like nested objects, but I feel like as soon as I have to start measuring things, I just don't want to do it. Zoom. Oh, we might have gone too thin here, guys. We're just gonna try to smooth it out. And then chill. I don't even know what a luminary is. I made this little baby lamp. Like when you say luminary, I think of a lamp. I made this little lamp, and I put like this little like light bulb in it, so it literally looks like I'm carrying around a little oil lamp, and it has like this flickering. I feel like one of my neighbors is gonna like see like this little flickering flame and think like my place is burning, like I left the stove on or something. Luminary is a covered candle holder. Oh. I wanted to make... The only thing I don't like about lamps is the fact that I have to have a lamp shade. Ruins the whole vibe of the lamp, to be honest. Alright. This one is actually pretty bad. How many pots left to trim after this? 1. Yeah. This, in some areas on this one, I think I went just a little bit too thin. Like the interior is a little bit thin, and that exterior area is a little bit thin as well. So, two bad moves there. Yeah, not good. It's definitely light, but not the way that we like. Here we are, guys. We're done. This is the last one. Camera A. Definition is a Latin word that means lamp in history. It refers to a small lamp or candle that is set burning on a church altar. The maintenance of the lamp was provided by lands and rents. Interesting. Porcelain luminaries are cool, translucent. Yeah, that's like that one, I think I showed you guys before, my little like lithophane plate, where you put a light through my plate and it shows a little image of me and my buddies. That's still my favorite plate. That will go down as history as maybe like my second best gift. I think it's so funny. We used to do these boys' nights, and one night we just like decided to do like brother photos where we all just kind of like we all just were pretty goofy. We stripped down and we freaking took these like these weird photos on a couch together. And so in this image I like have like sensor bars, and it's just us with these sensor bars sitting on this couch just smiling. It has got to be it's almost like a cursed image, right? But I love that image. So that was one of my gifts for my buddies before we left each other. So definitely miss those guys. And then my second favorite, or my first favorite gift has got to be the the songs that I made for my buddy's birthday recently. I play those. I don't listen when I'm in the car. I don't listen to any other music except the music that me and my buddies made. Isn't that kind of chaotic? Like I don't have any music. Like I don't play like who's a popular singer right now. Like I don't play any freaking I don't even know who sings. Well, we were talking about Snoop Dogg earlier, so like I don't play any Snoop Dogg. It's literally the only things on my iPod are me and my brothers singing. It fills me with so much fuel. The size, style, and form of that cup is a perfect Yono Umi, a perfect Japanese hot liquid cup. Be careful with the foot. This one's a gem. We'll see. I might trim through this one just on. Just kidding. Yeah, well, but I don't know. This one I left some of these throwing, like here. Zoom. Do you see these throwing lines here and here? Like I left these throwing lines in there. I could have smoothed them out like I did on a lot of the other ones, but I left them on here just because I liked the breadth of those lines. And I think like you need to have some of the lines sometimes, right? Like if it's all smoothed out, you know, why am I not just a machine making the thing, you know? I actually think I'm getting kind of thin there. Hold on, I'll check it here in a second. Oh no, we're definitely not too thin. Oh wow. This form is gonna change dramatically. That's how thick this bottom is here. Like, do you see how the bottom has kind of this taper? The bottom is almost totally flat, so I gotta trim off a ton of material here. So we're slowly bringing this stuff down. Try this one out. Be careful. It looks like you're almost having fun. Never. The only reason it looks like that is because I'm almost finished. You still actually can make this even more flat. I reuse the trimmings, yeah, I mean they'll become slip and reclaim clay, and that's what I use to make the whistles. And anytime I attach things, and if I make small parts like the handles for these objects, they'll all be out of reclaim clay. I think that's also why I didn't want to throw the handles this time, because I don't want to waste the throwing stuff to make the handles. I'd rather just use the reclaim. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, I gotta chill. Anything there, and it's gonna be too much. You can see it's dipping in. I think this one's kind of done. So let's just sink this in fully. Pull this guy out. And have this interior circle be the actual foot. We'll have this like almost like this weird sunken foot. And we gotta take some of the water off here. We just gotta make sure that this hovers and doesn't sit higher than this top thing. Right. It's so soft that we can actually wet it and throw it a little bit, so why not make that little edge a little bit nicer, right? So look at that thing. This thing is weird, yo. Definitely nothing like... So do you see how it's gonna set on that little small foot first? It kind of has like a weird false foot. So if the clay's still pretty soft, you can actually throw the things that you trim. That's why I like split this in half so that I could throw that out, right? It actually kind of worked out nicely when it started dipping in, and we actually kept it still pretty even despite it really caving in quite a bit. And the weight's pretty nice too.
Okay.
It might a little bit, but do you see how like you have that one foot, so if it starts wobbling, it just is going to use this as a support then. You know what I mean? The only thing I'm worried about is I might have to prop this up in the kiln with like a little block, so then I don't have glaze, like the drip doesn't tag the ground, you know? So that's the only thing that's going to be a little bit annoying is the actual glazing of this thing. Alright, homies. We are finished trimming for the week. We hate trimming, we'll always hate trimming. No more trimming. Next week, no trimming, all throwing. Then, water whistles. Jar water whistles coming up at you. See you guys next time. Peace out. Thanks for watching.